Despite the enormous help from the West, the initiative on the front line is in our hands, and Russian troops are advancing along the entire front.
200 settlements and thousands of kilometers of land have already been secured now by Russian forces, as Moscow's chief of the general staff briefs foreign military attachés on the Ukrainian battlefront this year. Russian security services arrest the man who assassinated Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov and his aide. The 29-year-old says his Ukrainian handlers promised him $100,000 and residence in the EU for the murders.
This is Masnar, one of the land-boarding crossings from Syria into Lebanon. Thousands are fleeing the country since the fall of the Assad government, driven from their homes by the terrorist militia that are now running the country.
As thousands of civilians flee from war-torn Syria after Damascus falls, a correspondent comes to the border crossing in Lebanon to see firsthand the effects on the people. Live and worldwide from Moscow, the capital of the most sanctioned country in the world, this is where we break the mainstream narratives on RT. So, while Kiev does face a split among its batters amid the conflict with Russia, the amount of Western support to Ukraine still remains enormous. But the flow of arms has failed to bring the needed results on the battlefield. That is the latest from Russia's chief of the general staff at a briefing for foreign military attachés.
Despite the enormous help from the West, the initiative on the front line is in our hands, and Russian troops are advancing along the entire front. This year, more than 190 settlements have been liberated, and about 4,500 square kilometers of territory have been secured. Enemy losses since the beginning of the special military operation amount to about 1 million killed and wounded, about 20,000 tanks and armored fighting vehicles, over 19,500 field artillery guns, and over 1,500 multiple rocket launchers destroyed. In response to Russia's successes, the Kiev regime launched a terrorist attack on the territory of the Kursk region in early August. The purpose of this provocation is an information effect for Western sponsors. The enemy's advance has been halted. Airstrikes and artillery fire have foiled attempts by Ukrainian forces and foreign mercenaries to break through deeper into Russian territory. At present, the destruction and forcing of armed formations and foreign mercenaries out of captured populated areas is continuing.
He did not just focus on Ukraine, he also talked about the broader state of affairs all across the world where Russia is implicated in one way or another. For instance, he addressed fears that the conflict in Ukraine could escalate into a nuclear conflict.